Okay, I think we'll get started. So hello and good morning, everyone. I trust you all enjoyed the long weekend and congratulations on making it through level 4. Well done to everyone out there for staying safe. So welcome back to our VUC series and to today's webinar, Nature Agents of Change, Using GIS in Schools to Improve New Zealand Waterways, with Elizabeth Butcher and Kirsty Brennan from EOS Ecology. I'm Ted Taylor from Eagle and I'm your host for today, and I'm joined online by Claire Thurlow from Eagle Technology and also Sabode DeCarl from the New Zealand Esri Users Group. So thanks again for joining us for the 6th session of our user presentations, continuing on with the series from last week. So before we dive into the presentations, I'll just go over the basics once more so you know how to participate in today's event. So as an audience member, you'll be on mute during the webinar, but you will be able to ask any questions by typing into the discussion panel as shown here. You can send in these questions at any time during the presentation and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. We should be able to get through all your questions within the time allocation, but if we don't manage to get to your question, don't worry, we'll pass all unanswered questions onto the presenters following on from the webinar. And if you think of any questions afterwards, you can drop us a line at gistraining@eagle.co.nz or feel free to get in touch with the presenters directly. Today's webinar is scheduled to run for an hour and it will also be recorded, so don't worry if you have to jump off at any point. Following on from the webinar, you'll receive an email with the link to this recording along with the others from the virtual user conference series. All right, I'd now like to introduce Kirsty Brennan and Elizabeth Butcher from EOS Ecology. Kirsty and Liz, good morning, guys.
Thanks, Ted. Good morning, and thanks for listening, everyone. So to start, I'll show my screen. There we go. Okay, so you should be seeing the title page, hopefully.
Yep.
As a bit of background, cool. Liz and I work at EOS Ecology, a company based in Christchurch, and we have an office also in Palmerston North. There's only 11 of us working at EOS, where we undertake aquatic science work such as fish, invertebrate and stream habitat surveys, ecological restoration work, and investigating ecological effects of various activities on waterways. But we're also really passionate about getting people engaged and connected to science and their local environment. We run a number of different science engagement projects, and we work with schools to improve skills and awareness about freshwater science. Our applied science and fieldwork at EOS is already GIS based, using ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Online for field data capture and report outputs. But more recently, we've been incorporating GIS into our education and community engagement work, which is the focus of our talk today. Liz and I will share with you our approach to using GIS as an education and engagement tool. We'll demonstrate how incorporating GIS has solved issues for one of our engagement programs and how we're introducing GIS in schools. There are two main reasons why we dedicate time and resources to developing and implementing education and engagement programs at EOS. The first is the disconnection people have in our modern, fast-paced societies to their environment. This gap in connection has led to pollution and environmental degradation. And these news headlines are actually from less than 2 weeks ago, highlighting the ongoing poor state of freshwater in New Zealand. New Zealanders do care about the health of their waterways, but we aren't always sure how we can help to improve them. Our second reason is that in New Zealand schools, students are not performing as well as they should be in science-based subjects, and there's low interest in pursuing science careers by school leavers. Studies have shown that kids decide their interests early on in their learning years, so it's important to engage young kids in science. It's also been shown that the majority of primary school teachers lack the confidence to teach science. In order to bridge the gap between people and their environment, we as scientists need to involve more people, especially young kids, in the science that we get to experience and contribute to. Providing opportunities to participate in meaningful science allows them to feel like they're part of something bigger and that they're contributing. This is not an easy task, but it is very rewarding. We've found that by using a particular framework for delivery helps us to be effective. The basis of our framework is robust science. The science needs to be relevant, simple, and accurate. Data can be brought to life and made interesting, and we all know that science on a map is so much more fun than in a spreadsheet. Secondly, collaboration is key. Through joining with others and sharing expertise, we improve our wider understanding of topics and are better connected and supported through the journey. In relation to ArcGIS Online, we have the ability to expand our understanding through data that's made available. Thirdly is the need to captivate. We need to understand how to get our participants hooked, making sure that our program relates to them and using tools that are best suited to get them engaged. Within all of the elements, we need to make sure that we're targeting our particular audience, otherwise we're not actually being effective. Every decision we make when developing a program is user-specific, from the topics we cover, the language we use, the format of activities, and the type of equipment we choose. We work with a lot of primary schools and have learnt a lot from them about more effective ways to deliver our projects to them. And if we get it right, we should be seeing positive action and long-lasting impact by the participants for the environment. We've learnt that GIS tools can improve the effectiveness of an engagement project by giving it a wider context and allowing people to see the bigger picture. But following a framework is still important for it to be effective. We will demonstrate how we use this framework with Nature Agents, our participatory science program that began in 2018. We work with schools to engage them in freshwater science and provide them the opportunity to participate in positive action and long-term monitoring of their stream. There are currently 27 Nature Agents schools across Christchurch and Banks Peninsula. The grey dots, the grey points, are in urban locations and the green points are rural areas. Monitoring these sites, these are 22 Nature Agent schools. We try and get schools a site that's close to where they are. Sometimes that's not always possible. And some schools have more than one monitoring site. And this may be because they've either moved schools for earthquake renovations, which are still going on, or they might have a connection to another stream, or they want to compare two sites. As well as setting up a freshwater monitoring site, we provide Nature Agent schools with resources on how to monitor, and they receive a very cool kit of scientific monitoring equipment that should last them over the long term. Using our framework, the resources and equipment are targeted at school groups to make sure it is understandable, safe, and repeatable. Nature Agent students participate in a 3-hour training session with our scientists. They learn how to conduct scientific monitoring and how to collect data. They learn about their stream's character, water quality, what invertebrates they have, and the health of the stream habitat. Our vision for Nature Agents is for students to interact with the data that they collected, understand how their stream behaves, and see how this is similar or different to other streams. Every stream has its own story to tell. So how do we help more people understand these stories so we don't keep getting headlines about the poor state of our fresh water? We want kids to participate in the learning, then share the story of their stream using science as their evidence and GIS as the mechanism to communicate with others. I'll now pass over to Liz, who will talk about how we've utilised GIS in schools with Nature Agents and some ways we've found to better connect our audience to applications of GIS.
So the main issue we faced with the Nature Agents program was data entry. The schools were collecting data in the field, but there was minimal interaction with the data back in the classroom. We initially developed an Excel template for data entry, but found this to be non-inclusive and difficult for primary schools to use. Having used ArcGIS Online within our company, we understood the capabilities and benefits the software could offer our program. We originally focused on our data entry issues, but soon began to expand, creating maps and dashboards to provide simple visualization of geospatial data. Working with Eagle Technologies' GIS in Schools program has given each Nature Agent school their own ArcGIS Online account and specific Nature Agent users. This allows students to access group content related to data entry, visualization, and interpretation of their data. Through using ArcGIS Online, we have developed an interactive platform for students to undertake data analysis in an easy-to-use format. Once in the classroom, students can now input their data using Survey 123 with a survey developed for each datasheet. We've ensured the surveys are a direct comparison to the paper datasheets to simplify data entry. We have also used logic throughout the survey to ensure quality assurance of data, such as automatic population of site location, and using selection answers to reduce errors in data entry. This demonstrates the use of our approach to effective engagement that Kirsty talked about before. Further utilising the applications within ArcGIS Online, we began to focus on how students could visualise their data in a geospatial context. We created interactive catchment land use maps for each school's monitoring sites. The map shows additional information including land use types, road networks, stormwater and waterways. This allows students to visualise the geography of their catchment and see things they may not have seen when out in the field. For example, what upstream pressures might be impacting their data, such as what the dominant land use is, which for this catchment is pasture-based farming, whilst the land use that surrounds their site and what they would have seen out in the field is exotic forest. Students can view their submitted data through customized pop-ups, where we have used specific colors to identify each datasheet. The use of web apps allows us to have control over what students can see and do with the data, ensuring their interaction is simple yet effective. To allow students to interpret their data, we created a dashboard providing simple visuals to help students tell the story of their stream. At first glance of the dashboard, you see the number of datasheets submitted by all Nature Agent schools. This provides us with insight into where to focus our efforts with teacher training, as we now know which schools aren't monitoring and which datasheets aren't being used. Through using tabs and specified colors, which are used throughout the surveys and web apps, students are able to identify each datasheet. For easy data interpretation, we have provided an information panel and implemented a traffic light system, ensuring effective visual communication. Green indicates the waterway is good for that particular environmental factor, whilst red indicates an issue. Without delving into a particular monitoring site, the dashboard provides summary data of all Nature Agent sites, creating an overall picture of Christchurch and Banks Peninsula waterways. By clicking on a monitoring site, for example, Wairarapa Stream at Jelly Park, the dashboard allows students to track changes to their site over time, discovering more information within each tab through the traffic light system. As you can see on the Invertebrates tab, although there is a good diversity of invertebrates, almost 50% of the total invertebrates found were those who can survive in polluted waters. The dashboard contains all Nature Agents data, allowing schools to not only interpret their own data, but also interpret other schools' data. This allows students to learn from others and compare and contrast different sites, such as urban and rural sites, or upstream and downstream sites. This is of particular benefit where we have monitoring sites along the same stretch of waterway, such as on the Wairarapa Stream. The monitoring site at Cobham School is just downstream of Jelly Park, which is the site we clicked on previously, allowing students to see how environmental factors vary from upstream to downstream. As you can see, the amount of amber and green on the dashboard has reduced on the Invertebrates tab, immediately suggesting the stream becomes worse as you move downstream, with the dashboard showing that the downstream site supports a lower diversity made up of more invertebrates who can tolerate polluted waters. Through using ArcGIS Online, we've been able to create a Nature Agents community, allowing schools to learn from each other and share their data. Creating this connection has also built a support network for teachers, increasing engagement within the Nature Agents program. So we have established an overarching goal for the implementation of GIS within our Nature Agents program, which is to enhance students' understanding of their local environment through the use of GIS tools from an early age. In doing this, we will not only build on students' awareness of their local environmental issues, but we will also be able to develop their GIS skills, an important skill set for their future. To meet our goals and ensure students feel comfortable using ArcGIS Online, we are teaching the teachers. If teachers feel comfortable using ArcGIS Online, then they will feel confident in teaching the software to the students. In order to achieve this, we are providing hands-on support for teachers. Since the end of 2019, we have held 3 teacher training GIS workshops and multiple one-on-one sessions. During the workshops, we go through step by step how to log in, access group content, data entry, visualization of data using web apps, and interpretation of data using dashboards. If teachers feel comfortable with these steps, we then begin to show them how to create their own web maps and interact with the Living Atlas. The GIS workshops have been a great success. Prior to the workshops, teachers highlighted their worry and hesitation of learning how to use and teach this new software. As many of our teachers are from primary schools, GIS is not part of their curriculum, so they are learning how to interact with this software within their own time. After attending the workshops, the feedback from the teachers is that they feel more confident as they now know how interactive and easy the applications are to use. We are aware how beneficial the workshops are, as there is a greater usage of the software from the schools whose teachers have attended the GIS workshops. We are also providing resources, which include how-to guides and lesson plans. We have found that our guides are vital to continued teacher and student engagement with the software. Although teachers benefit from the GIS workshops, we provide documentation to refresh their minds on how to use the software. As students and teachers may not interact with the software often, easy-to-use step-by-step guides are important to ensure the software does not become difficult to use. We have tackled multiple hurdles in our GIS journey, and every day we are learning how to be more effective using GIS with an audience who are unfamiliar with the software. For example, using logic in our surveys reduces the margin for errors, and keeping our applications simple by reducing the number of widgets avoids complexity and confusion. Our key lesson learned is that our target audience isn't your everyday GIS audience, and their use of ArcGIS Online will not be on a daily or weekly basis. Although we have provided how-to guides to help with this, familiarization and thus confidence can take a long time and may become off-putting. Throughout our implementation of GIS into the program, we began to notice that although teachers and students found the surveys and applications easy to use, navigation within ArcGIS Online from login to accessing content was difficult. Due to this, we are now in the process of improving Nature Agent Schools' interaction with GIS. We are removing the navigation through ArcGIS Online and providing easy access to content through a Nature Agents community page using ArcHub. In creating an ArcHub community page, we are improving interaction and engagement by reducing what students and teachers can see and click on. In removing the multi-step pathway to access content, we are simplifying teachers' and students' GIS experience. This ensures they spend longer engaging with surveys, maps, and dashboards, rather than navigating through ArcGIS Online. This being said, we will also continue with our process of ensuring each Nature Agent school has an ArcGIS login account with access to the Nature Agent's content. This ensures students or teachers can interact with the data, providing them with a platform in which they can undertake their own data analysis. By utilising GIS as a tool to connect people with their local environment, we can facilitate greater community awareness and understanding about freshwater health. Our aim is that students participating in Nature Agents will gain skills in scientific monitoring and GIS, and be able to use these skills to tell others the story of their stream and how they can better manage it. So we would just like to say thank you to Claire Thurlow and Brian Cooper at Eagle Technology for providing us with support and helping us implement GIS into our Nature Agents program. And if you have any thoughts about how we can enhance students' engagement with GIS or want to get involved more widely, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Liz and Kirsty. There was a fantastic story map you've put together there. We'll now move to the Q&A part of today's presentation. So now let's call upon my colleague Claire to kick us off. Claire, do you have any questions for Liz and Kirsty to start?
Well, It's always great to hear you guys present your work, the amazing work that you've been doing. I was just wondering, from a perspective of the wider community, how is the data that the students are collecting being used by the wider scientific community, or is it?
Yeah, thanks, Claire. So often, well, as is the case around the country, the councils don't have enough resources to be able to monitor all of the waterways all of the time. So having the nature agents data available gives communities a sense of how their waterway might be behaving and how it might compare to other waterways. And whilst the data is of a community standard and not the same as council data, it's good enough to provide indications for the community to get to grow their awareness and grow their understanding and to know where targeted action might be needed. So it's kind of an awareness tool and a starting point. We're really trying to facilitate schools to use GIS and their data as a communication tool and as evidence to maybe some actions that they want to do within their own environment. And we've had some students presenting to regional and local council as well as local community boards last year. And that was about their data, about their experiences. And they've received really great feedback. So we want to continue to develop them to be able to do that. We're having discussions with Environment Canterbury about putting a link to the dashboards on Canterbury Maps, so it's available for the public. But we definitely want to grow this area more and to be able to connect to more people.
That's fantastic. I especially like the way that you're negotiating with the Canterbury Maps people to start including the data into their dashboard. So I think that would be really useful for the region.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just a quick reminder for all you audience members out there, you can still submit questions during this Q&A session. So if there's any points that Kirsty and Liz touch upon in their answers here, feel free to fire those questions away and we'll cover them. I've got another question for you guys here. How do you manage those Survey 123 forms that are submitted by the students in terms of like verifying that the data is correct and that there's no duplicates of the data coming through?
Yeah, so it's quite a complex process, but when we create the nature agents accounts for the schools, we also create nature agent logins. And for each school, they have an official data entry user login. So this user has access to what we call an official group, and it contains the official survey forms and the associated feature layers, which then go and create the maps and the dashboards. So this user, we make sure that the teacher allocates a trusted student or a couple of students to work together to enter the data using this specific login. Using webhooks, we then receive notifications to let us know if the survey's been submitted and by who, and we're then able to check the data against the paper data sheets that they use in the field, and we can get in touch with the teachers if we find any issues that have happened. But then to ensure that the rest of the students are also getting training in using Survey 123 and to be able to use it as a group, as a lesson for the school, we've also created an additional 30 Nature Agents users, but they have access to a separate group which contains copies of the surveys. So they're the exact same surveys, except for the associated feature layers don't go to a map or a dashboard. So that way the teachers and the students can enter data thousands of times, and they can practice as many times as they want, and it doesn't matter if they make any mistakes because it doesn't go to a map or a dashboard.
Fantastic. That sounds like a very, very elaborate system set up, especially with the webhooks that come through notifying you guys about that submitted data.
Yeah, and that's where there's been a lot of help from Eagle Technology in helping us develop that. So that's been fantastic.
So we've had some really great feedback for your presentation. There's lots of thanks for sharing, and you guys are doing fantastic work. There's also just a question around feedback. What sort of feedback are you getting from the participating schools about the program?
Yeah, I guess the schools, once they test the software and get into it, they're really enjoying it. it does take, for primary school teachers, it does take a little while for them to engage with the software, and that's why we're trying to develop some easier ways to get them engaged with it, such as developing an ArcHub page. But the feedback that we've got from other teachers is that actually once you log on, it's really simple. And we've done a couple of test runs with students in the classroom, just letting them enter the data from their data sheets to the Survey 123 forms, and they find it really, really easy. It's really intuitive for them, those online forms that they're actually quite used to. And at the moment, it's quite guided, and that's why we're really keen to develop lesson plans and step-by-step how to interact with the nature agents data for the teachers to be able to do it. Because once we, when we talk to them in the workshops about how they could utilize GIS in their classroom with the nature agents data, they become really excited, and they think, they just, their mind just starts pinging with ideas about how they can extend it to other topics such as stormwater that they do anyway in the classroom.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably feedback that we've had from our wider schools around New Zealand, is once they get started, they're like, wow, didn't know it could do so much.
Yeah.
And I want to use it for everything rather than just these specific things that we have to, for especially in the high school curriculum. They have things that they have to use GIS for, and then they have things that they want to use GIS for, and it's slightly different areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's really great that those schools can see everything that's being done across the whole network in terms of site coverage and what's being done where. If the schools themselves, if there's new sites that they identify that they want to monitor, do they contact you to go to those sites, or is that something that you guys sort of seek out in advance? You're like looking for and evaluating new sites.
Yeah, usually they contact us and say, can we set up a site here? You know, we've got a couple in the waiting when we get out of lockdown to go and talk through with the schools. Sometimes if there's a community project or something going on in an area that's close to a school, we will contact them and say, hey, do you want to pick up another site in conjunction with this community group? Some of the sites are that are being monitored are also in areas where they're doing some enhancement of the environment, like planting and other kind of community monitoring projects. So it's quite nice. What we really want is for the school to feel supported in their wider community about helping their environment, but also that they're providing the community with information. So we're trying to create that, but that development kind of happens over time.
Yeah, I see. That's cool.
And I guess on that site is, or that sort of thing, if a new school wanted to get involved in nature agents, how would they go about doing that?
Good question. Yes, so they just need to send us an email. So either on our natureagents.co.nz website, there is a contact us form. Both mine and Liz's contact details will be available on the EOS Ecology website as well. So it's just a matter of getting in touch. Then what we do is we just have a chat over email or phone. Then we normally, once the school wants to take it the next step, then we will go and have a meeting face-to-face.
And I guess leading on from that, we've had a question here from Kat about how Nature Agents is actually funded.
Oh, yeah. So at the moment, Nature Agents is funded by the Ministry of Education's LEOTC program, which is their learning experiences outside the classroom. So it's a fantastic opportunity actually for schools to have access to different experiences by providers. So we are an LEOTC provider in Christchurch. And so we have the ability through funding to be able to provide 9 schools per year an experience outside the classroom. And that experience is the 3-hour training session, the 1-hour information session for teachers, plus the resources. The resources were funded by Sustainability Initiatives Fund, SIFT. And the equipment kits are provided by Environment Canterbury. And so they've been providing the kits so far, which has been absolutely fantastic for the schools to keep. So yeah, we have funding until the end of next year for schools, and hopefully ongoing after that. So it's really great. It doesn't cost the schools anything.
Cool. Do you have any plans to expand that number?
Oh yeah, we'd love to. We'd love to. It's just a matter of funding. And you know, all the GIS stuff that we've been doing has actually just been internal through EOS, just because we think it's such a fantastic thing to do. So we are hoping to be able to expand improving the capabilities of GIS through nature agents by getting some additional funding. But where there's money available, we've always got ideas, and there's always schools that want to be involved in the programs that we've been delivering.
Awesome. Is the story map that you've gone through today, is that publicly available for the audience to check out?
Currently it isn't, but we will make it public after this. And we also have our previous story map from the Esri user conference last year in August. That's also public.
Yeah, and those can be found on your website, or your previous one, I'm guessing.
As of currently, I don't think it's available from the website, but it will be. It is available as a link in our Facebook engagement page.
It's also available on the GIS and Schools website on the Eagle page as well.
Cool.
Right. Claire, do you have any other questions you'd like to ask?
I don't have any other questions from audience participants. I just wanted to say again, thanks guys for sharing your experiences with the GIS and Schools program. It's always so fantastic seeing young people engaging with GIS, and I think you've done a fantastic job with the Nature Agents project.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah,
Thank you.
For your help again. Yeah, it's really fun. It is good.
Likewise from me as well. I've got one last question for you to sign off. Couldn't help but think with all the data capture going on mobile devices near streams, have any devices been lost to streams?
So currently, because they are such young kids that we're working with, we use paper data sheets in the field. And then when they come back into the classroom, they will enter the data. Because I'm not sure how well that will go using devices in the stream when they're jumping around.
Yeah, I could see the kids getting very excited.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions for now. So thanks to everyone that submitted a question. If you think of anything else, you can drop us a line at gistrainingeagle.co.nz, or likewise you can contact the presenters via the EOS Ecology website, and I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out with any queries. You can also access the recording of today's webinar at our GoToStage channel link there, and you can also register for the upcoming presentations via that top link on our website as well. So the next presentation is due to take place later this week on Thursday, 30th April, 11 AM. So please register if you haven't already done so. All right, so a massive thanks to you, Kirsty and Liz, for presenting today. It was a fantastic story map. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure that our audience did too. So just a reminder that these virtual user conferences are a collaboration between the New Zealand Esri Users Group and their partners, Eagle Technology, GBS, and Alterra. And the user group would also like to say a massive thanks to our RUC/VUCS 2020 sponsors, National Map, GeoWorks, Jacob, and First Name. So thank you very much for your time today. We look forward to having you online again later this week and connecting with you face to face as soon as possible. Thanks very much, everyone.